before how much we were just saying how before how much we love our Women Power program. So yeah, I might get started, and I'm just going to, I'll get started. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for being with us tonight to talk to Reclaim, our wonderful partners, and to Chris about heat pumps and how we can all, embrace the heat pumps in our homes and what that will do for cost of living, for reducing emissions, and for making our homes healthier and to get off gas. I would like to start by acknowledging the land on which I am speaking to you today on, I'm in the Dharawal country, and to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and future. And for those of you who are new, I say this every time, I live in the most beautiful part, a very beautiful part of the world. I'm in the Illawarra, and I'm sandwiched between the beautiful escarpment and the Pacific Ocean, and it is a really beautiful place to be. And if you could all just take a moment to think about the land that you're on today, and that beautiful relationship that you have with the earth. So before we get into it, I would love everybody that hasn't got their camera on, could you just for a moment, entertain, like, I like doing this before we start, just pop your cameras on and just scroll across. If you could put your Zoom on gallery mode and just scroll across and say hello. And if you can just say in the chat where you're from and hello, and anything you want to say about how you're feeling right this moment. And if you're, and we'll take some photos of all of us on the Zoom because we just love doing that. And hello, everybody. And it's lovely to see you all. It's lovely to see your faces. If you pop your camera on, if you can, and we can all say hello to each other. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's going to be a great night tonight. We really do. Oh, I can see some really familiar faces and some friends, and it's lovely to see you all. So we're going to really delve into heat pumps tonight and how they can really be a solution for getting us off gas. This is a really important topic for me. I just moved into our new home in Wollongong about a year ago, and I think I mentioned to some of you before that I have 6 forms of energy in our home here. We've got solar panels, but we've also got gas, and we've got gas hot water. We've got gas hot water in our bathrooms, in the laundry, and we've got a separate system in the kitchen which just does the hot water in the kitchen. So we have 2 hot water systems, and they're both gas. And so I'm very excited because we're going to get our first heat pump and through Reclaim, and we're going to do our bathroom and our laundry and that area. And I was saying to Chris before we jumped on here tonight that I was thinking that in the kitchen, because it's only for the hot water for just the kitchen sink, that it's probably smarter for me to not get a heat pump, but just to get an electric system for the kitchen because it's just small, and that that would still be electrifying my home. We have solar panels, and hopefully that would be the right thing. But anyway, Chris was saying that it's really important to have a look at all of that and get a plumber in and to advise, well, maybe the one heat pump that we're going to get for the rest of the house could also do the kitchen, but we don't know how all the plumbing is set up. So that's going to be my next challenge, to see what we do about the heat pump, the gas hot water in the kitchen. And you know, just one other story. When we used to live in Sydney, in the northern beaches of Sydney, and we had a gas hot water system. We ended up getting a solar hot water system. Then it broke, and instead of, and this is a long time ago, but I think that it's a familiar story. Instead of really doing my research and taking time to figure out what I should do, I just went back to the gas hot water because it was what I knew before, and I didn't have to research it, and it was already all there. And so I think that is a big lesson for, you know, us all. If we, you know, when something breaks or when it's at the end of its life, it's we don't want to knee jerk and just get the same thing again. And now's such a good time for you to think about that and for you to do your research and to know when you think you'll need your next hot water system, and and really have that research so you don't just do the same old thing that you had before. So yep, that's my little story, and I'm very excited because we're going to get our first heat pump, and that's going to start us on our electrification journey. So thank you. I'm really excited about tonight, Chris, and I'm going to hand over to the wonderful Bree, who you all probably know by now. Bree heads up our Women Power program, and she is going to introduce our guest speaker for tonight, and take it from there. Okay. Over to you, Bree.
Alrighty, thank you, Nat, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm really excited to invite Chris to be part of this Zoom. He's so knowledgeable, and you know, he's been on a journey of renewables since 2003, so a really, really long time, and really focused on energy efficient hot water solutions. So we've brought the right person along to really, tell us all about it. I'll just read a little bit about Chris and Reclaim. So in 2010, he ushered in a new chapter, leading the exploration of heat pump technology and sort of developing a really groundbreaking CO2 heat pump. And this led to launching all of Reclaim, which is an incredible feat. And we're really proud to partner with Reclaim. And he really has an unwavering commitment to quality and excellence, and also actively contributes to government policy and advising. And those are the sorts of things that we really are trying to do with Women Power as well. So very much aligned, and we all have a very similar goal of getting women and everyone really that access to more efficient electric products so that we can move away from gas. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Chris to tell you all about heat pumps and share some of that expertise that I was talking about.
Hey,
Thanks,
Bree,
Bree.
should I tell everybody to get on speaker mode?
Oh yeah, I can do that. And also, if you have any questions throughout, pop them in the chat because we will get to them at the end and hopefully have a bit more discussion as well. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Bree. And Natalie, thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk to you all tonight. I'm up in Byron Bay and Bundjalung country, so I've been watching people pop in from all over the country, from my home state of Victoria through to Western Australia, where I lived for 11 years. So welcome to everybody. It's very, very nice to have this opportunity to share some knowledge. I want to sort of point out that even though I'm the owner of Reclaim, this is not a sales pitch. So I'm not here to talk to you specifically about buying a heat pump. I'm here to actually help you navigate what is happening in the market and things you should be considering when weighing up, is a heat pump the right solution for you? Obviously, there's a very significant push on at the moment, particularly in Victoria and New South Wales, around the electrification of the network. And there's a lot of fundamental reasons for that. And the Victorian government has done some modelling work which showed that unless they significantly curb their gas emissions, they're projecting that the climate in Victoria will rise by 1.5 degrees over the next 50 years. And they've done some modelling on the impact that that's going to have on agriculture and farming and sustainability. for local produce, and they realised that basically they needed to start an initiative to move away from gas. And so that's where the gas roadmap really started. And New South Wales and Victoria have been working very closely together on that. So I think, you know, one of the things I should point out is there's a little bit of overlap in New South Wales and Victoria. So nationally, we have what we call the small scale trading certificates, or the STCs, which is a federal government rebate. And basically what that is companies with high pollution can then buy these certificates to offset the impact that they're having on the planet. And so they will buy those from people that are putting in energy efficient products, whether that be a PV system or a solar electricity system, or whether it be an energy efficient hot water product. And that's part of the Renewable Energy Trading Scheme, or the RET. And the Renewable Energy Trading Scheme is in place until 2030, but it's a depreciating a program, which means that if you had PV, they're projecting that PV will last for 15 years. So every year that starts to go down by 0.1%. And with hot water, they're anticipating that it will last for 10 years. So we've just started to see that value diminish in terms of the calculations, and it drops by 10% every year. So let's talk heat pumps. And there's an enormous amount of array that have come into the market off the back of all these rebates, because there's the New South Wales ESCI program and the VEEC program in Victoria. So in Victoria, if you're lucky enough, you can get 3 rebates. There's the Solar Homes program, which is $1,000. There's the STCs, which would on average be about $900. And depending on if you're replacing gas or electricity, an electric hot immersion unit, that could be anywhere from $600 to $900 in terms of savings. So in New South Wales, they don't have a solar programs $1,000 rebate, but they do have the ESCIs and they do have the STCs. So they're the 2 states where it's most affordable and most attractive in terms of reducing your capital upfront costs of buying a heat pump. And you might see that there's a lot of companies out there advertising $33 heat pumps or free heat pumps in the market, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. And they've had a significant impact on the hot water marketplace. Cumulatively in Australia, there's 400,000 heat pumps that have been installed so far. Last year alone, 128,000 heat pumps went into the market. So that shows you the growth that these incentives that have been put in place by the government is having on the heat pump or the hot water marketplace. When you're looking at heat pumps, things that I think you need to consider is around the sizing of the unit, a number of people in the house, number of bathrooms in the house. There's probably 2 configurations that you need to think about. One we call a monoblock system, which is an all-in-one heat pump. So that's where the compressor sits on top of the tank. And the second option is you've got what we call a split system, whereby the compressor is separated from the tank and you've got a storage tank that can hold anywhere from 160 litres up to 400 litres of stored energy. So the best way to think about heat pumps is they're a thermal battery. So hot water is energy, they're storing energy for you to draw on and use. Whereas with a gas hot water system, as you turn the tap on, the water will flow through the gas booster. The flame will kick in depending on the ambient temperature of the water coming into the house. So in winter it works harder and you use more gas, and that heats it up to the set temperature before it comes through a tempering valve and comes into the house. Aspects to think about: global warming potential. So that's the first thing that I'd point out. So all products have a global warming potential, and heat pumps are no exception. And one of the things you need to be thinking about is what gas do these heat pumps use? If it's R132, then it'll be using a refrigerant that has a global warming potential in the thousands, which means that at end of life, when that refrigeration escapes from the product, a lot of the emissions that you're trying to save are lost. In fact, you're probably doing more environmental damage than if you would have stayed on gas, to be honest. Victoria are banning or excluding R132A products, heat pump products, from the rebate market from July 1 this year. So you're seeing a lot of resellers in the market scrambling to adjust their systems to R290, which is LPG, which is considered a natural refrigerant, and that has a global warming potential of 2, which means it's very, very friendly to the environment should that gas escape. And then at the top of the global warming potential tree, we've got CO2 products, and the CO2 products are offered by companies like Sandon or ourselves, and that has a global warming potential of 1, which means if the refrigerant escapes, it does no environmental damage at all. It's a natural refrigerant, which is ironic because we keep talking about reducing CO2 emissions. There's a huge amount of variance in terms of price in the market, and that's primarily based on the quality of the product. Of the 128,000 units that went in last year, we probably would say that 70% of them were given away for free, or were sold for $33. That's had a major impact on the traditional hot water resellers in the market, the Rheems, the Renais, the Steebles, the Ducks. Probably, if you look at your hot water unit sitting outside, you'll see that one of those companies would have supplied that hot water unit. They've raised concerns about compliance and governance associated with the rebate program because it's been rolled out so quickly. And they're now commissioning audits of systems through the Master Plumbers of New South Wales and Victoria. And so far, all the systems that they've audited have been non-compliant in terms of install. Either haven't had a tempering valve installed or haven't met the electrical safety requirements, which is a significant concern. And that's one of the problems that we've seen in the heat pump market with a lot of the low-end Chinese products coming into the market. One is we don't know how long those companies are going to be around for to honour the warranty. And because you're buying a product that's being sourced from overseas, or 100% sourced from overseas, if that company pulls out, then there's very little consumer recall in terms of trying to get that situation resolved. So that's one aspect. You need to be thinking about if the offer's too good to be true, then 9 times out of 10 it is. The other aspect that you need to think about would be the warranty and what is included in the warranty. Well, probably the better way to express it, what is excluded in the warranty provisions that someone is giving you. Manufacturers have a wonderful habit of providing a warranty with all these get out of jail free cards. And so it's really important before you make a decision around what heat pump to go with, that you go on a product review, you go on a Google reviews, you go on a Whirlpool. They're all great forums in terms of people sharing their views and their experiences of products. But more importantly, you take the time to look at what is included and excluded as part of the warranty process. With Reclaim, as an example, we provide on our Wi-Fi units an 8-year warranty, which is parts and labour. And generally, well, if something goes wrong, people ring up and I just replace it. So far, our warranty failure rate's been 0.34%. Sorry, Natalie?
Can I ask you a really silly question first?
Yeah, sure.
It's not a silly question. Can you explain to us all how heat pump works? How does
okay. Simple. It's pretty simple. Okay. So you've all got fridges, yeah? And if you're like me, when I was younger, I used to put my hand at the back of the fridge and feel the fins at the back of the fridge, and it used to be really, really hot. And that's the heat exchange. So what ends up happening is a heat pump works in the opposite fashion of a fridge. So the water will circulate, will have a sensor dictating what the temperature of the heat pump needs to get to. And basically, the water will circulate through the compressor. The refrigerant, depending on which refrigerant it is, will then heat exchange that water and convert the cold water into hot water and then store it in a storage tank. That's a simple framework on how it works. It draws off the ambient air temperature. And so it can be 0 degrees outside and your heat pump can be producing hot water, depending on the design of the system. A lot of these mono systems that are being sold at the moment have electric elements in them. And so you're raising some good points here around in terms of how the product works and then what are some of the challenges around how the product works. And I think the biggest challenge is recovery time. And so if you've been on gas and you're a gas hot water user, you turn the tap on, you've got hot water. And it's just constant because the gas just keeps burning to replenish it, unless you're on LPG bottles and you run out of LPG. But if you're on natural gas, which there's no such thing, but anyway, if you're on what they call NG, then you can just keep running the tap and you'll keep getting hot water. With a lot of these mono systems that are being sold in the market, they're undersized. So they're selling a 180 litre, selling it as a 200 litre system, but that's storage capacity. Delivery capacity is 180 litres. And the recovery time is very slow, depending on the ambient temperature of the water. So in the wintertime, when you use most of your hot water and you want your hot water, they're very, very slow to recover. And so they've got electric immersion elements in them that kick in to stimulate or heat the water, which is no different to an electric immersion tank. And so one of the arguments that I have with a clean energy regulator quite often is, why are you subsidising a faux heat pump? So if the heat pump can't recover and can't deliver in line with the requirements of a household, then it's been undersized and it's been sold inappropriately. And so they shouldn't attract rebates. You should exclude them from the program. And REAM are of the same opinion regarding that particular situation. So, one of the questions you should also be asking is, does your system have a backup? Does it have an electric immersion element? Because what you're actually, if you're thinking about savings and what your savings will be, depending on how often that element kicks in and how often you need that element to work, you're actually, not going to get the full savings that you are hoping for. The other thing I think is that when you think about heat pump and you're thinking about your house or hot water in general, one is you don't want to compromise your lifestyle. So I've got 3 boys here, and 2 of them, while I've been talking to you, have come in and had showers. The third one, if he comes in here, he'll be in here till midnight because he's just a water hog. There's 5 people in this house, and we can have 5 showers and a bath, and the system will keep up with us. We've got a 315 litre system. So, one of the things is you need to be thinking about recovery and how quickly the system can keep producing hot water for you. Because the last thing you want to do is buy a system and then find that you're running out of hot water, because then you're going to be furious, particularly if you're coming off gas, because it's something you haven't run into before. I think one of the other considerations that you need to be thinking about, particularly if it's, as Natalie was saying, like if you're in the stage where you're doing what we would call a considered purchase, which is to changing out before your system fails, it's a really good idea to look at how old your existing hot water system is. As a general rule of thumb, you need to be thinking about replacing a hot water unit when it gets to about 10 years old. When it's 10 years old, it's getting close to death. And so what's going to happen Murphy's Law, Friday night, 7 o'clock, you're getting ready to go out, you think you're going to have a shower, and you find that the hot water's died. And then it's an emergency. And so, as Natalie said, you then go and generally a plumber will come out and say, yep, I can do a like-for-like replacement. You've got a Dux 250-litre electric. I can put that in for $1,500. So it's an unexpected purchase. You haven't budgeted for it. It's happened on a Friday night. You can't go the weekend without hot water. So you need hot water. So you grab it. You say, okay, well, let's do it. Then you're pretty much locking yourself into the running costs and the management of that system for 10 years, unless, of course, you sell the house. So we're finding a lot more people are looking at moving and doing considered purchases now. And I think, that's been a key driver in terms of the growth that our business has seen, and also the transition to heat pumps. And I also think that one of the other things that people need to be thinking about is how flexible is the unit that you're putting in. So can the unit be programmed and managed by you, and do you have visibility of the data that the unit can provide to you? So in other words, you should be able to see what the running costs are per day. You should see when the unit's coming on and how long it's running for. So for those people who've got PV, there's a monitoring tool called Solar Analytics. Some of you might have it, some of you might not. And you can actually program some of these heat pumps to run from 10 to 4. And generally speaking, depending on the technology, they will produce all your hot water without consuming all the PV that's being produced during the day, even in winter, depending on where you are. So I think, one of the considerations you need to be thinking about is not so much I want to buy a hot water unit, it's I want an energy efficient solution that will deliver hot water. And what is the most energy efficient solution that I can grab? And then how does that complement my existing energy management plan? Because we've all got an energy management plan. So you might have PV on the roof. You might be considering getting a battery in, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months time, because battery costs are coming down. So will this system work in with batteries? And if so, how? Sorry, Natalie, you're going to say something?
Yeah, and I was just going to say that because someone has answered the question in the chat was, can our heat pump run off solar during the day? But you've just answered that. But I think also when when you're like me thinking, okay, the kitchen one, could I just swap out for an electric system? And I think that if you don't have solar panels, it's still, and this is why, we're needing to get off gas, because if we continue, whether we have solar panels or not, we've got to make our homes electric. And having a heat pump, is, even if you haven't got solar, that would be your choice, because at some point you may get solar, but also at some point our grid will be renewable. And if we've still got gas, hot water, no matter how much our grid is renewable or how much solar you have on your roof, you'll still be using fossil fuels. And I think that's a really, a big reason.
Plus, you'll be paying a lot more for it, because what's happening in Victoria is with new homes, you're not allowed to put a gas hot water system in. You're not allowed to connect gas to a new home. And so the gas companies, the gas suppliers, are going to be sitting and saying, we're losing all these customers. We need to maximize our profits, obviously. How do we maximize our profits? I know what we'll do. We'll charge more for the services that we're providing to our existing customers. And so as more and more people move off gas, then the basic economics is the cost of gas is going to go up to the point whereby it's not so much an environmental consideration, becomes an economic consideration for people. And I think that's probably a really nice point that you make there, Natalie, in terms of complementary technologies, but also you're starting to bring the economic and environmental argument. And the two, for years, and I've been doing this since 2003 when I had hair. But, back in those days, a lot of the arguments were, a lot of the early adopters were environmentalists, or people living in the country. They were the ones who were more open to renewable hot water solutions. And as time's gone on, it's become much more of an economic consideration for people. They've got their PV on the roof. What is it? Where else can we reduce our energy draw to maximize what it is that we're getting? And I think, if we forecast the next 12 to 18 months, batteries are going to really become a key adoption strategy. I think I would be surprised if there's not a federal government national battery incentive that is rolled out, because we've got a Labor government and they're concerned about cost of living. And so they're trying to look at how they can supplement or support households to reduce their cost of living. And having a complementary solution which has a low energy draw but doesn't compromise your lifestyle, i.e. a heat pump, is an ideal way of dealing with that particular solution, because you can run the heat pump at night. And if, as an example, if you look at our technology, a CO2 technology, whether it be ours or Sandon, it'll have a 3 kilowatt draw a day. Now, if you've got a 15 kilowatt battery sitting out there at night time, you can run your PV, divert all your energy into the battery, and at night time, then you can charge your hot water unit, and it's not going to deplete the battery just running your hot water solution. Whereas an electric storage unit will use between 12 and 14 kilowatts. So all you're ever going to do is do your hot water and nothing else. So this is where you start to balance out the benefits of different solutions that are available in the market. And someone asked what an STC is. It's a small scale trading certificate. And so that STC acronym is basically what polluters are paying. They're sitting there saying how much energy or how much emissions are you taking out of society, and then we'll value that over a 10-year period, and we'll give you that money up front, because that's how long we expect the technology to last for.
Yeah.
No worries, Carol.
No, I just thought there might be some other questions that we could ask. Brie, I don't know. I mean, just what you were saying earlier about, sorry, I'm hogging all the questions. Yeah, sorry, everybody. I'll just ask this one and then I'll throw it to you, Brie. But you were saying the ESCI program, and then you were saying, RI 32, like, to all of us, how do we, like, if we are trying to figure out what to get, how do we navigate those things that we don't really know all the language of?
Okay, so I'll tell a little story if I could. So the Department of Environment has banned R132 as a refrigerant federally, and so in air conditioners you can't use it anymore. And their primary reason was global warming potential, that if this gas gets out, it's going to do enormous damage to the environment. The Clean Energy Regulator, who is responsible for managing solar panels and renewable hot water, are paying incentives for people to put R132 systems into their households. And we, as in we, the hot water industry, Ream, Renai, et cetera, organised for the Department of Energy to sit down with the Clean Energy Regulator, and the Department of Energy lost their mind that, what are you doing? Like, you're actually, this is counterintuitive in terms of the strategy that you put in place. So the first thing I would do is say there's primarily only two refrigerants you would think about putting in. The ones that are going to do the least potential environmental damage would be an R290, and everyone publishes what their refrigerant is, and you just ask, what refrigerant do you use? Or CO2. They're the two best in terms of global warming potential. The most energy efficient, so the lowest draw products that are available on the market, are CO2 products because they work under a higher level of pressure. And by that, I mean that there's a transcritical exchange that takes place. So you for every 1 unit of energy that you're putting into the system, you're getting 5.5 or 6 units back. So it's 5 or 6 times more efficient than a standard electric immersion element system. I'm trying not to talk in too many acronyms. The other thing is, with the rebates, this is probably the simplest thing to think about. You get one bite at the cherry. And so you get one opportunity with the rebates at a state level. So you got 2 options. Buy a cheap product that costs you nothing or costs you $33, etc. And then you say, okay, well, we'll see. That's great value for money, very, very limited capital upfront costs. We'll see how we go. Or buy something, use the money to buy something of high quality that you know is going to last. And so you need to look at the warranty. How long is the warranty? How long has the company been around? What is the pedigree of the company? We're seeing a lot of the LED lighting businesses that were giving away free lights now getting into hot water because they think they can give away hot water units. But they don't necessarily have the background or the expertise in terms of managing it. And so for me, if I was a consumer, I'd be looking for the smartest product that's out there, the one that's the most flexible, the one that provides me with information and data that I can look at, so that if someone's telling me this is what it's going to do, I can actually then look at it and verify it when it's in my house. And if it doesn't do what they say it's going to do, then I've got recourse with them through direct engagement with that company or through consumer affairs. I'd look at the product reviews and see what people's experiences have been. And another forum would be My Electric Efficient Homes on Facebook. I don't know if anyone's a part of that group, but you can look at, there's lots of techie experts in there that have very firm opinions on what works and what doesn't. And you know, I wouldn't rush the decision. I'd weigh up. I'd do your decision tree around, you know, what is it that I'm looking for, and then how am I going to assess those characteristics against a specific product, and then I'd talk to the company and make them accountable. Go on, Nat.
Yeah. No, I just think that's really good advice, is don't rush into it, because, and that's why we've got time. You know, if you say that, you know, a hot water system, I guess, of any kind has a 10-year shelf life. And so if we can all just start to prepare now with what is the best thing for our homes, that that is good for the environment and good for us and cuts costs.
The whole, if the lights go out, it's annoying, but you've got a torch. You know, if you don't have hot water, I tell you, especially if you've got kids, it's the end of the world. And invariably, you know, it'll happen in the middle of winter, it'll happen at night time, it'll happen on a weekend. And so, you know, there's just this expectation that we have. You know, when we go to the tap, we turn the tap on. We're very privileged. Turn the tap on, water will come out. It's drinkable, it's clean. You know, how good is that? Or when we turn the hot water tap on, we're going to get hot water and we can have a shower whenever we want. And so, you know, I say there's nothing worse than when someone doesn't have hot water. That's you know, one of the key pain points for households. And so make sure whatever you're putting in is of very good quality. And, you know, there's all sorts of heat pumps in the market. There's a lot of Chinese products. Some of them are okay, are good. Like the iStore, which is a competitor of mine, that's a good product. I have no qualms in saying that. And it's a Chinese made product. And the facility that makes the product is second to none in terms of their focus on quality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We sell a Japanese product, Stand sell a Japanese product. And, we started talking to them. It took them 3 years to build a product for us. Like, they were just horrible to deal with because they were so diligent in terms of everything had to be done properly. But the benefit, of course, is, we're now 6 years in, and I think we've replaced 3 compressors in that whole time. And, we've done thousands and thousands and thousands of units into the market. And so, I think from that perspective, people who put in the effort to build a good quality product are the ones that you should be looking at. And Sandon's a good product. iStore's a good product. I used to say Steeble was a good product, but that's an R132, so that they've had their challenges. Reese do have they've got a mono system, which is a rebadged Steeble, but they've also got a CO2 product. So if you're chasing that, then you should be looking at that. But yeah, and at the moment, the iStore does use R132, but they are transitioning to R290, and so in the next month or 2 months, they will have an R290 option available in the market that you'll be able to grab, which is great.
Yeah, and R290 is the go. But
Yeah.
we've got lots of chat, lots of links, and people in the chat. Yeah. So, Bree, do you want to ask any questions from the chat?
Yeah, so Sarah had a bit of a story here about their plumber tried to tell us not to switch from gas to a heat pump for hot water. As he said, not many plumbers know how to maintain or fix heat pumps, and they're expensive and hard to get parts for. Is this really a problem, or is he anti-heat pumps? And is spare parts only a problem if it's like a cheap system?
Yeah, so plumbers are kind of like a trusted advisor. And so if they're comfortable doing something, they will stick to what they know. And if they don't know something, then they'll try to steer people away from that particular aspect. In terms of, answering your question about that, it depends on the company. Like, one of the problems that we've seen with the audits that are being done by the master plumbers at the moment with the hot water guys is that one person's had no hot water and they've been complaining about it and no one's got back to them. And someone's system failed and they said, we'll reimburse you what you paid for it. Here's $33. But that person now can't go and get any of the rebates again because they've used the rebates. They get $33 back and then they've got to go and buy an electric hot water unit. So the expectation of getting supported and looked after has been negated. But, it comes down to the company that you're dealing with. And with plumbers, a bit of background, in 2010, there were a lot of heat pumps that got deployed in the market because back then we had the STCs, so the federal government rebate. We had over and above that, a federal government rebate and a state rebate in New South Wales and Victoria. So you were getting something like $3,500 back on a renewable energy product. And Quantum went crazy, and they were actually giving the systems away and installing them and then giving a check to people for the privilege. And so one of the problems with all that was that a lot of the installs that were done were not up to code, and a lot of heat pumps failed, and a lot of plumbers got burnt through that process. And so there's plumbers remember things and hang on to things. They don't tend to let things go. So that person might have had a bad experience back then. But my experience of the heat pump market is definitely not what they're saying. Heat pumps do work. They work very, very well. Good quality ones do. And people will stick to what they know.
We also had a question from Rosemary who said, do you have consultants who come out and advise on, I guess, to their home or, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got local installers that come out, and so they can come out and advise on an install solution. It's pretty simple. If you have your own plumber that you work with, then we can have direct dialogue with that plumber, and we can talk to them about the requirements of the unit. And it's a very, very simple install to put one of our units in. It's not a complicated exercise. Nat, you're on mute.
Zoe's saying that she has a smaller one that she thought used R134A.
Yeah, so one so I might have got 132. It's R134A, sorry. So that's the
What's
global warming potential. That's the
the
high. So that's a Hydra. I've got to get I often get this wrong when I try to say it. It's an artificial refrigerant.
right? And so so this is what Zoe's saying. The smaller one, I thought it used R134A. I did have to
Yep,
convince them to install it, and now it has done a few.
yep. So R134A is the one with high global warming potential. And so generally speaking, at end of life, there should be some process that's put in place to recycle or to capture that refrigerant and store it so that it doesn't do, environmental damage. But 9 times out of 10, that doesn't happen. The plumbers just pull it out and take it to a local plumbing merchant, and then they take it to the tip. And then when they're doing their landfill, they crush it, and then the refrigerant escapes. So yeah, so apologies for that. It's R134A. That's the bad one. Comes hello to Rosie.
Back to you, Bree.
I'm just trying to make sure we haven't missed any questions in the chat. Yeah, Zoe
If you
said,
get the federal rebate for your roof solar, are you still eligible for rebate for heat pump? Yes. They're both separate. They're separate programs, so you can grab both.
Zoe
And in
also
fact,
said,
I think in Victoria, you can also double dip. So what they used to do is they used to say with the solar homes program, you can only get it once. You can get it for PV, but you can't get it for hot water, or you can get it for hot water, but you can't get it for PV. Yeah, there's a shark behind me. But you can now get it for both.
Zoe also asked, do you think recycling of refrigerants will be more common in the coming years?
It should be. It should be mandatory now, like part of corporate governance or governance by the government. That if they're allowing this refrigerant to come in, they should have put that in place already. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the governance aspects are situational and reactionary. And so what you find is they'll put a program in place, they'll roll it out, and then they go, oh, crud, there's all these issues. But let's now start to tighten it up, rather than sitting down and sort of trying to work through by talking to industry, whether it be electricians or plumbers or manufacturers, and say, what are the key challenges that we need to be considering before we do this? And then how do we manage that properly so that it doesn't create all this red tape and tie people up, for one, but secondly, looks after consumers, and thirdly, ensures that there's quality going into the market.
So I think is that all of them, Bree?
One last one. Kerry saying, I'm not sure if I missed this, but wondering about heat pump options for cold climates, minus 12 degrees in winter chill. Any specific cold climate?
Okay, so the best for cold climates, the best solution is CO2. It works brilliantly in cold climates. And Naomi raised a point about she's trying to get a plumber out there in Geelong. But they won't come out and have a look at it. So I'd suggest she gives Tech Plumbing a call, ask for Jeremy, and tell him you're a friend of mine and that you need some help. And then if he doesn't come out, then you'll have my contact details. I'll make sure you've got them. Give me a call, and then I'll get into him for you. Make sure he does come out and fix it.
Okay, everybody. Oh no, just in that area. Yeah.
No, like anyone. If anyone's got a problem, like our view is very simple. We're here to help.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we're here to help just with our product. We're here to help people. And I think so. If someone's got a problem, like obviously Naomi does, then if I know someone who can help, then we'll put their name forward.
Yes, and I want you to know that Chris is a man of his word, and because he is really generous with his help. So take him up on that. Rosemary says my strata requires a lot of certification from the installer.
Yep. So they'll need a plumbing to get the rebates. You need a plumbing certificate of compliance, and you need an electrical certificate of compliance. So chat to your strata and find out if they need anything over and above that. But if they're good enough for the federal government and the state government in terms of signing off that the system's been installed to standard, then the strata shouldn't have any issues with that.
I think
But
it's
the strata
insurance and things like that as well. They want everything.
Yeah, and they're probably concerned about noise as well. And that's one thing that we haven't talked about. You need to actually look at what the noise rating of these units are. Because the last thing you want to do is be putting a system in that's going to be causing you grief with your neighbours because it's noisy and it's outside, their bedroom, and which is divided by a small alleyway and a fence. So noise is a big factor to think about.
Right. It's good to know.
Can I ask one more question on noise?
Sure.
Can you set them so that they only come on from like 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night or something?
Yes. So some of them you can. So like as an example with ours, you can set it so it comes on at 10 o'clock and it runs till 4 o'clock. And then that's it. And it will only come on at night time and do a cycle if it requires frost protection. So if you're in Victoria, and no disrespect to Victorians, because I'm an ex-Victorian, and ex-Victorian for a very good reason, it does get quite cold at night time in certain parts of Victoria. And so the unit may come on and do a cycle at night time, or might come on, in 1 or 2 in the morning, and might come on again at 4 in the morning for a cycle. But our units are classified as whisper quiet, so you can't hear them run. Whereas others have very, very high decibel outputs, and because the compressor on the monoblocks in particular are up high, the noise is getting amplified. It sounds louder than it is because it's up at your head level.
So Margaret's says that she lives in Launceston, and can you recommend a plumber, as hers is reluctant to engage with this topic? And I think that that's a big thing about upskilling plumbers so that they can help people when they want to get off gas.
I do have a plumber in Launceston. Just give me two. You can try. Okay, Launceston Plumbing and Gas, and ask for Ben. And if you speak to Ben, tell him I said g'day, and loving all the shots that he's putting of his kid up on Facebook, and that I miss him. Or I don't know if you tried Grant Chug, but Chuggy's another contact down there. Chuggy might be a bit exy though. Chuggy likes to sort of charge people. So I'd try Ben Smith at Launceston Plumbing, and tell him you're talking to Chris Taylor, because he used to work for me years ago. Yeah, give him a call and he'll be able to come out and have a chat to you.
Yeah. Chris, and everybody, I think, Bree, is there anything more? I think we might have to.
Yeah, I think that is
That's it.
So many
So-
questions, but also if we want to, yeah, if you have any more questions ever, feel free to send them over and we can always answer them.
Well, I just put my phone number in there.
Oh, yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
being stupid. And then I just put my email as well. So if anyone's got any questions about anything, or you're sitting there looking at options between different heat pumps and you're feeling a bit confused, give me a call. I don't care what product it is. It doesn't have to be ours. And I'm not gonna. We have a philosophy which is we don't badmouth any other product in the market. I'll just talk about things that you need to consider or think through regarding either the install side of things or the performance of the product side of things. And I'll also ask you lots of questions about your own personal circumstances, so we can marry those up as best as possible. And also what I said just before we do go is that if anyone was interested in talking to us, we're going to offer our wholesale price, what we sell to our dealers for, which is about 20, I think it's about 22% off recommended retail price, depending on the dealers, to any member of 1 million women.
Yeah.
To help you guys, because I know capital costs are significant, and that's not a timed offer. So all you have to do is, if you go to our website and you're interested, and you go to hello@reclaimenergy.com, just say, hey, I'm a member of 1 million women. And so if you're talking to other women, first of all, get them to join 1 million women, please. And then secondly, once they have joined, then they can just write and put that in there. And I'm not going to put a timeline to that. So, because some people want to renovate, some people are, doing construction. So it could be 12 months away. I don't care. Like the offer's there and it's done.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. That we really appreciate it. And can everyone go back on gallery mode and we'll just end off. But thank you for that offer, 20% off. We really appreciate it. It really means the world with this, with cost of living. And so thank you. Thank you, Bree, so much for pulling this together. Everybody, big she's wonderful. And a couple of things before we go. Those of you who are in Sydney or can make it to Sydney on the 29th of June, please, will you come and celebrate with us at our Festival of Solutions? We turned 15 this year. It's been a big 15 years, and we've got this amazing festival happening at Carriage Works, 10 a.m. It's filled with joy and optimism, and it's jam-packed with climate solutions. It's just what we need right now. It's going to help us, a lot of us from sinking into despair with all with everything that's going on in the world. It's going to be a beautiful event. So please, there's the link for tickets. We'd love you to come. And because you're our beautiful Women Power program group, if you would like to, we just put up a code. It's 1MW friend. And if you put that code in, then you get, because it's $30 a ticket, but you can get it for $20. So yeah, hope to see you there. We'll have a whole electrification wing because we've got 40 stalls, as well as we've got John Butler playing for us. We've got Wendy Matthews. We've got Gina Chick, who won the Alone Australia season 1. She's this inspirational speaker. We've got the wonderful Chishiko King from the Torres Strait talking about, women on the front line. I'll be talking. We've got demonstrations, cooking demonstrations, household electrification. So it's all happening. So hope to see you there. Thank you so much. Bree, do you want to say anything?
No, just thanks for coming, everyone, and thanks, Chris and Reclaim. And if you missed anything, we'll be sending the recording and any tidbits or links in an email tomorrow, or hopefully soon.
Yes, everybody, thank you so much. And Rebecca, please, Natalie, I love to have your email to share. Yes, my email. Well, my email, I'll just put it right here. Natalie. isaacs@1millionwomen.com.au. There you are. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. Lots of love. See you at the next Zoom. Hi, Carol. Hi, over there in Perth. Lots of love. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye. See you later, everyone. See you, Janet. See you, Kerry. Bye, Jules.
Bye-bye from Rebecca in Agua, Nigeria. Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah, I meant to say from Nigeria. Where are you?
Yes,
Have you gone?
from Yenegoa,
Oh,
Bayelsa State. From Bayelsa, Nigeria.
oh,
We
and
also have
Rebecca?
Rebecca's email, Nat, so I can reach out and send through some more things as well that you can get involved with all the way from Nigeria. And yeah, anything else that we can send your way to get you, I guess, involving more women in Nigeria is 1 million women too. The more the merrier.
Thank you so much for being with us. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
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 Bye, Janet. Bye, Susie. Bye, Rebecca.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll send my email. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Well done, Brie and Nat. Another fantastic session.
Well done, Bree.
Oh my gosh. I think it worked out in the end. Oh, that's-
It was.